Welcome to the latest episode of the Indoencers Podcast, and what is actually a mini-series inside the Indoencers Podcast, which is the Life Until 23 series of the Indoencers Podcast. In this mini-series, we'll be talking to many of the musicians involved in my debut album, titled Life Until 23, although the conversations we'll be having will be about music and the guests' musical journeys in general. On today's episode, we have somebody I would genuinely call one of my favorite singers of this generation. Born to a musical family, he got noticed by musicians all across India through his successes in reality shows like Indian Voice and Super Singer, which led to countless collaborations with some of the world's most esteemed musicians, most notably Mr. A.R. Rahman. He has also made a name for himself as a composer, as he is the winner of the International Songwriting Competition, as well as now a music composer for films too, and of course, he is the mind and voice behind so many insane a cappella covers on Instagram. I'm so excited to welcome onto the show, truly the one and only Sreekanth Hariharan. Sreekanth, thank you so much for taking the time to come on.
Thank you, Nishad. My pleasure. And that was quite a long intro. I was like, what should I do?
I mean, it was actually longer, and then I had to cut it. I had to decide, okay, what do I include? What do I not include? Too much to list down, but we have, an hour and a half to go through it all. So I want to sort of walk the journey you've been through. And I want to start right from the beginning. So, let's really go back to your earliest days as far as your memory will go.
It sounds like therapy right now. Go back to your childhood. Okay, but anyway.
What is the trauma that we would like to dissect today?
Yeah,
No, I'm just joking, guys. No, but
I might interrupt you like this sometimes, so please ignore my nonsense.
it's okay. You made a reputation for yourself with
No,
cutting
no, no,
jokes,
no, no,
right?
let's not get there.
We might have a joke segment on this podcast. No, I'm just joking. We don't. If you're worried about your sense of humor, mine is 15,000 times worse. So don't worry about that.
Proud
Yes.
of both of us. So,
So yeah, going back to your early days, not as a therapist, but just as someone who wants to explore your musical journey. I want to imagine, let's say I'm a fly on the wall watching 2 or 3-year-old Sreekanth running around the house. What do I see? What do I hear? What was your environment like during your earliest days?
so my earliest days were spent in Chennai, though I natively belong to Trivandrum in Kerala. My parents came to Chennai. My mom was a singer. She's a singer. She used to do playback and she was doing her PhD in music. So they moved to Chennai. And we had a very normal, small family there. I listened to a lot of music around me through my mom and everything. But otherwise, I was into cars. All I did was play with toys and watch my neighbors drive their car inside and outside of the house and of the garage. And then I used to ask my dad to get me just automobile magazines. And I used to memorize each and every page of theirs with the specifications of cars and all those things. And like literally cars and cars and cars. And I used to play with some other toys and I used to watch SWAT Cats, the cartoon, and there were like some stuff like that. I don't think I had any relation to music back then in my memory, but right from my childhood, the only memory I have is I want to become an automobile designer. That was my life goal since the age 2 or something. Since I had memory, that was my goal. And yeah, that's all. And I just remember me being a very shy person. And yeah, that's all. That's all I remember. I don't know what else I remember at the age of 3, but that might be what the fly was watching when it was in my home.
It's interesting that you talk about it's very common, at least from what I've seen, for young kids to be very fascinated by cars. I was as well. But only to the level that we'd play with our little toy cars. We wouldn't be like borderline academics studying the specifications of cars, right? But you were into all that.
Yeah, man. Like for example, any car, I know what BHP it produced at what torque and what is the fuel tank capacity, what is the length from bumper to bumper, and all those things. I was so curious. I
Sorry, can
just
you translate that to English?
Sorry.
Can you
Oh,
translate that to?
nice one. Like, covered it in English. Like, okay, nice one. I like that.
See,
But
I'm lowering the standard of Kadi jokes
good
today.
man, you're reaching my level. Good. But yeah, that's all I remember about until a certain age. Yeah, that's all I did.
And I know music came much later, but you know, you would have been going to school and things like that as well. What sort of student were you? Or like not just student academically, but what sort of person were you socially? You said you were a little bit shy, but
Yeah.
what was, you know, what kind of person were you at that age?
So I remember, from what I've heard from others and from my own memory, I was a very obedient kid. I was someone who doesn't get into fights and things like that. Uh, and I was very emotional. Even as a child, I was very emotional. I remember that. And I can't face audiences, or like I remember my dad pushing me into a fancy dress competition when I was 3, and I just stood there on the stage and I was a rowdy or something. Okay. So I had like a lungi and a bottle of something that should be toddy, and like something else in my hand, and then I just cried. Nothing else happened. So I remember like I can't face audiences, and I didn't like, I was very, very shy and inhibited about everything as a child. But academically, I was very good. I liked studying. I liked all those things. I like knowing stuff. I don't know. That's what I remember. And I was not a very messy child, is what I heard from my parents. Like I don't create big troubles. I'm very obedient. I'm very nice boy.
That's slightly unusual for a musician, no? Like the stereotype of a musician is this, you know, a little bit outcasted, didn't really know how to fit in, and music was their sort of vehicle to be able to express themselves. Was there
Yeah.
any element of that? I mean, you did say you were a bit shy, so was there any element of your personality which you felt you couldn't express during
As a
your
child.
younger days? Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, not really. So I was very comfortable in the way I was. I didn't find any problem back then, and I couldn't imagine of any problem. My childhood was a very happy childhood. I didn't face any much of issues and stuff. Just that maybe it was difficult for me to go play out with friends or make new friends and things, because I was not a very outgoing person. But still, I had my own set of people. But other than that, no, the music didn't come out as that form of an expression for me. Music came much later through different means. So yeah, I think no, music was not even an option in my head. Like my mom is a singer. When she used to perform for concerts, I've heard I have slept during her concerts and things like that. But I remember my mom telling me and my appa telling me that I used to criticize people singing and music when I was a child. So like if something went wrong, something I don't know what exactly, but yeah, which I still do. I'm a big critic of myself and everyone, but yeah, that was there right since childhood. So maybe.
Right, and you said music came later through other means. What were
Hmm.
those other means and when did that happen?
Interesting. So, I mean, my mom has taught me a couple of small songs and stuff that I've sung in schools for stuff like, so I don't know, but even they didn't know I was interested in music. And later, my grandfather had bought a violin at home, just so that he was expecting someone in the future generation might pick up the violin. So, incidentally, I was just curious, and my dad bought one of the violins to Chennai. And I just tried sitting, and he taught me how to play sarigama, and he said, "Let's figure it out." And then I was very curious. So then we moved to Trivandrum when I was doing my 5th grade, and I enrolled for violin classes, and that's how I started learning music. But I remember I was not too keen on sitting and practicing every day, or like that wasn't my mode. And my mom has tried teaching me vocal even when I was younger, but I wasn't that focused or interested. Then I remember going for school competitions here and there because I can sing, but and there was some other TV competition that my mom sent me to, which I was too young for, but they just admitted me, and still I went for a round, and I heard good comments, but then I couldn't go further because I was very young. And that all that is my childhood memory. So primarily music happened a little like seriously from my own interest. So my sister was in a reality show, and she was doing great in that. And then I remember I was lying down with chicken pox and I was in 10th grade, and all I could do was watch TV. And it was very intriguing, and I was like suddenly feeling I can do something. Maybe I want to sing. Something happened, and they announced auditions for a junior season. So I secretly like I took my mom's phone and applied for the audition. And I remember that is the first passionate thing I did for music, like from my own end. And I'm not someone who likes competitions or who likes public spaces, but I don't know why I did that. I just did that. And later, the day prior to the audition, I realized my mom was supposed to judge the audition. And I confronted her. And then she said, then I told her, I'm not coming. You better go judge. I'm not coming. And she was like, are you mad? You're supposed to go sing. And so she was very happy that I took an initiative for music and stuff. So that is what I remember. That was my first genuine interest from my own self that I took for music. Yeah.
But just to clarify, so you'd applied for this competition, but you said you'd started violin in fifth standard,
Standard,
but
yeah.
you hadn't
Hmm.
sung at all.
Not much. I would learn occasionally, very occasionally from my mother.
Uh-huh.
Uh, Other than that, I've never gone for classes, for vocal classes until then. So I used to learn one or two kirtanas for any school competition and things like that. Or I will learn a few film songs which I'll have to sing for my residence association program or something small, some small stuff like that. And otherwise, I hadn't, or like there are things called light music competitions which happens within schools and inter schools competitions and stuff, so which I have done, and maybe I would have got some prizes for that. But uh, so people might know that I sing, but I've never like learned so much or put me formally into that system much at that point of time, other than for violin. And even violin, I remember I wasn't that continuous or very dedicated to it. That wasn't me back then
Mm.
so yeah, that's
So you
what.
didn't necessarily know that you were a good singer when you first
Absolutely
decided.
not. Absolutely not. I would say until a few years ago, I didn't believe I was a good singer. Even now, if you ask me, I'll have multiple comments for it, but let me stop with that.
You're the only one with multiple comments. For us, it's all flashing green lights. But I guess that's the life of a musician. We're all our own biggest critics. And you talked about, your mother and how she was a professional musician, both in playback and in the classical scene. Was there any influence that she had on you? Did she want you to go into music at any point, or was there any of that going on, or was her profession quite independent from your relationship with her?
No, I've never heard them push me or my sister to pursue music as a profession.
Mm.
Though my sister showed a lot of interest since young days, and she used to play mridangam since she was in fourth standard or something, and she was way more interested in music right since her childhood, from my memory. And whereas I showed no interest as such, but they were what to say, they wanted us to learn if we are interested. They never pushed. The main reason they didn't push me to learn vocal was because they didn't think I was interested. So and my mom also faced a lot of struggle in pursuing it professionally and being successful in it, because they were also not such outgoing people back then. And this profession is very difficult for such people, is what I've realized with age. So they had their share of struggles financially or even professionally and things. So they never pushed us. So at a point when I decided to take this as a profession, they were like, you should better have a job and then you should try this, or do you really want to? So, more than pushing us towards the profession, they were like, please think 100 times. That
Mm.
was the kind of attitude they had, which changed over time. But yeah, so maybe learning musically, all the things, they were really, what to say, giving us a direction as to what to do. And my mom, I love my mom's singing and her way of approach to Carnatic music or whatever it is. So in that way, I have learned a lot from her, even passively. But they never pushed me to do that, to do this. You should do this. You should go meet this person, or you should find opportunities, or you should go to a reality show. Nothing was there. My dad might have suggested me to go, and he might have applied for one of the shows I went to, but it was still, I just went to explore it. So I don't think they ever pushed me to do this or that.
It's interesting, your parents sort of show the two possible paths, because your mother, as you said, was a professional musician, but I also read that your dad was very much into music, but decided not to pursue it professionally, right? So
Yeah,
you saw sort of both possibilities as soon as you became interested in music.
yeah,
Was
I did.
there, when it came to, the time where you started thinking about, okay, maybe is this something I want to do? What sort of lessons or sort of, I guess, what things did you take from each of your parents' respective decision?
So, my dad is someone who's extremely passionate
Mm.
in many things, and so he used to write stories, poems. He used to learn by himself to play the keyboard, the guitar, and a lot of stuff, the flute, and to such an extent that he used to keep aside lunch money. So I was just talking to my dad even today about it. So he used to keep aside the lunch money that he got from home during his late school days or something, and he ate something that is of a lesser expense and saved the rest of the money to go and learn Kalaripayattu and things like that. So his passion is incredible, but I don't think he was in a financial situation at that time to, confidently pursue arts because he had a lot of things to take care of in the house and stuff. So I see his passion, and I also saw how much he suffered by doing not something he loved, which was banking. So day in and day out, I could see, but uh, the best thing was he wanted my mom to go, all guns blazing because he wanted to have a wife who wanted to be passionate and do whatever she likes to do. So it was a very interesting thing. So I saw how much that mattered and how much the passion mattered and how much the talent mattered and how much hard work mattered or sincere effort mattered. Let's not say hard work. Sincere effort mattered, and how much of importance quality has in all these aspects, sincerity has in all these aspects. So that was my exposure. So I saw these two different stuff, and I saw them suffering or enjoying their life in different ways and how they approached it. So it was very beautiful. I think, of course, it would have played a big role in my upbringing without a doubt.
And when we're talking about, making that move towards music, I know a big sort of moment which changed your approach towards music was this music convention that you went to in, I believe, Germany and Belgium called Ethno. Is that
Yeah, where do you get
correct?
this from?
There's a magical place called the internet.
Okay.
But
Interesting.
tell me a bit more about that because it's kind of a bolt from the blue. It kind of comes out of nowhere. Like suddenly you're singing European folk music in Belgium. Having said, you're not interested in music, where did that come from? And tell me more
Thanks to
about
my
that
sister.
experience.
Thanks to my sister because I was doing my bachelor's in architecture, and my sister, what to say, someone like she knew suggested her for a thing called ethno, which I went to too. So at that time, that was in 2011 or 2010 or something when she was doing her college. And so neither she or me knew what ethno was at that point of time. So then they approached her saying, "There's something like this. We want to send you as a percussionist from India, who's from like my sister." So she attended that first, and she had an amazing experience. And it became such that she joined some of the musicians who were from Sweden, and who participated in the same thing. And they formed a band, and they were touring around in Europe, playing folk music, European folk music and stuff. So she had a great exposure and great time. So from then I was exposed to this thing. And there came a moment where, the scholarship opened up for this particular ethno. And I really wanted to know because at the time I was doing architecture and I realized that's not my, what to say, my passion to do day in and day out. And I started regaining some confidence in music in me. And then I thought, and I didn't have a view of music as, I should sing in films or I should do this. I had no eye for all those things at that particular time. I didn't know what to do exactly. So I was almost finishing my college, and I saw this, I applied for this, and I got the scholarship, touchwood. So luckily, and then I attended that, and there were like, I remember there were around 25 to 30 people in each of the workshops, and they were all from, I think, around 15, 16 different countries all over the world. And everyone represented their own style of music with their own language. They like the music should be either traditional or folk of that particular region. That was the main thing. So I was representing Carnatic or Indian classical. I was also learning Hindustani at that point of time. And so the whole campus, we taught each other's music, and then we chose like 10 to 11 compositions, and we performed at 4 or 5 places after that, small venues in and around the town and cities and everywhere. So I did that of like, two successively. I did it one in Belgium and in Germany back to back. And I realized, so all the people who participated in that were not professionals. There were students, there were people who were working and doing music passionately, and there were people who are professionals. So I saw some incredibly amazing talents, incredibly passionate people, and how they all approach music with a lot of love and fun, and they enjoy playing music, which is something I haven't seen much in my life, to be very honest. Like, I've seen people approach music very professionally, or how to be successful in this, or how to crack this, or things like that. But I have rarely seen people who just simply play music or sing for fun. And that is when I realized that is incredible. And I learned a lot from that travel. And that's when I realized, and I used to try writing my own music at that point of time. And I had done something for Music Mojo, which is a thing on YouTube. So, yeah, so post that, I realized I didn't want to do film music. I didn't want to do anything like that. So I just want to make my music. I just want to learn more of music and lead my life, maybe in such a way. So, but my life took me elsewhere totally. But yeah, that was my experience post the ethno, and yeah, that's what it was.
I mean, when you say you engaged with different forms of European folk and traditional music, what did that constitute exactly? Like, what were you performing?
So I was teaching them a couple of Indian compositions,
Right?
and we all sat and arranged them together. We wrote chords, and what can be for strings, what can be for an accordion, and the different instruments, a double bass, and whatever they had. So, or I found out some interesting instruments to the camp as well. So then, and we used to do that for every each of the song. So we arranged the song ourselves and we present it for the concert. So that was the whole thing. So it was nice to see where, and we have to explain what the song is about, where is this culture coming from, and what is the tradition of our music. So we have to theoretically explain that. And they were also fascinated by how the Indian style of playing the violin was, because it was very new for them to see me sitting and playing like this, and doing all the gamakas. And all the Europeans, or even anyone who's learning Western music, would be very fascinated by the Indian gamakas. So I had a good time trying to explain what gamakas were. So I remember all that. It was so much fun. It was so much of learning. And basically it was some amazing set of humans I have not been able to meet after that, as good as them. So that's what it was. Did I answer your question? I forgot what you asked.
No, you did. And what you're saying sort of reminds me of, what previous guests and other musicians have told me. I remember, I don't know, have you heard of violinist Apurva Krishna?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, so she was telling me a couple of years ago, she spent her whole life in India very rigorously studying Carnatic. And then she went to Berkeley for the summer camp. And suddenly she was exposed to a whole new set of, genres and, styles of music, but also that she found it difficult to communicate with other musicians using her musical language, uh, on like a literal level, she was only used to like Sarigama, and then these other people were coming with, C, D, E, F, G, and then she was like, what the heck? But I think it also manifests in intangible ways where, even the melodies that come natural to you, the rhythms that come natural to you, won't necessarily line up with the melodies that line up with someone who's done, I don't know, Irish folk music or, Albanian traditional music or whatever, right? How was that? Like, did you find it difficult to communicate what you were saying using the language that you were familiar with in music?
It was a little, but I remember after 2 days I started telling them everything in, I used to say, so if I have to say Sapa Magari, I remember saying CGFED. So I started learning that language, and as much as possible. So I tried communicating in that, because to teach someone an entire new language of music is very difficult. So it was easier for me to adapt to that, and it was very fun for me to learn that. So I tried decoding everything in that. And though I was not I couldn't read staff notation, or I couldn't write that, but what ABCDF like was very easy. So since I could do it, I tried communicating in that. And I can't, what to say, mention names of chords. It didn't come to me, but I knew what notes were there in a chord. That's how I still arrange my music. I can't, if you tell me what to say, G7th or something, it might take me a few minutes to understand what it is. Like, I can, no, seventh is easy, but I'm just saying something as a chord, it doesn't work for me. But I know what notes I want in it, or I know what is the sounding that's there in my head. Maybe I don't know the language. So then I figured language is one thing, but if you know what you want, you will find your own ways to communicate. So communication is just a, what to say, it's a thing that you make between two people. So which needn't be a predefined thing. It might be easy, but you learn it. Human beings learn communication very easily, is what I felt. So though it was, I won't say it was hard, it was just fresh to see, oh wow, even we don't know, I mean, even if I don't know their language, I can communicate. So it was fun in that sense.
Yeah, and it's really interesting hearing you talk about this because you talk about, engaging with music in a very raw form, in just a very pure form, if I can call it that, with people who are just engaging with the art out of just pure enjoyment, pure passion. And I was listening to you talk about this in another interview where you were saying after this experience, and you even mentioned this briefly now, you just felt like you wanted to go completely away from commercial music and sort of go down a new path of your own. What was going on in your mind after this experience? How did this change the way you viewed music?
So there's something else to add on to that. So since the end of my school, I was getting into meditation and a lot of spiritual things in my life, which was my guiding light in my life. So that was my primary focus. So with that, what happened is I think I understood my sensitivity, and sometimes I feel commercial music is too harsh on me, be it whatever it is. It's too harsh to my heart or to the energies, and I couldn't understand why it is, and I couldn't relate to it much at a point. But when I experienced this, I could feel my soul, because it was so pure. There was no intention. It was just like storytelling, or it needn't even be a story. It was just an expression. There was nothing calculative or situational about it. So maybe it's a song about farming, but it's just so naturally simple and nice. It's just heartfelt. So you don't have to think about what to say. What if we do that? What if we do this? There was not too much happening around it, and trying to prove a point or trying to show someone's artistic abilities. So I learned that music is not about showing your skill. Of course, that's one way of developing and evolving oneself. But the ideal core of music, so when you compose a song, you want to bring out a certain expression, right? And since you're skilled, you use a certain complex way to make that happen. But if someone is more simpler, they can still express. It might be in a different form. It might not sound as complex as you, but they'll do the job. So we do this way of making our own music to satisfy ourselves, basically. So I figured that that's what I felt, honestly, and I love the honesty and simplicity of music, and I felt, that's what I want to search for. So I was not demeaning commercial music. That's not what I wanted to convey, or that's not what I'm talking about. But rather, I just love the purity of intent in such music, or any simple forms of music. So I was really attracted, and when I make my own music, I figured I might be more truthful to it in that sense. And yeah, so even when I make a music, I don't make music with an agenda, like I want to make a romantic song, or I want to talk about my childhood trauma, or I want to talk about my love. I don't have agenda when I make music. So when I want to make music, I make sure it's coming from a blank slate. So whatever is supposed to overflow as music is gonna come out as music. Let it be there. So I don't want to create new things. That's what I felt.
You were talking about, not having an agenda when it comes to making music. What serves as the seed or the spark then for you? Is it just a purely musical idea that you convert into some other meaning, or is like where is it coming from if it's not coming from a certain situation or a certain feeling?
So it might be coming from a feeling for sure, because it's only feelings that get converted into any form of art. But the thing is, I don't make up situations, or I don't bring out situations from my conscious self, because I figured many things that we pick up consciously has a lot of situations that we connect to it. For example, if I think I have to make a song today, if I think, oh, what will work? Then I'll start thinking, oh, I should take a romantic song because this is what is trending. Then I'll think, oh, this is a style that's trending right now, so maybe I should use this. Or, oh, Indians are not exposed to this music, so I should not do that. So there'll be a lot of conditions, or like say, oh my God, that musician is amazing. I want to work with him, and then make a song. I'm not saying that's wrong, but instead, see, think you're like in a blank state, you're a completely blank slate. and you just close your eyes or something and you just feel something, that's coming out of you. You don't know what it is. Let's not give it names or anything. Something comes out, and then one thing leads to another, and you create something. And for me, so that is what I love as art, because then you are just expressing whatever your inner self or your subconscious wants to express, rather than me consciously trying to put a form to whatever that's in my mind. So that's what I was trying to say. I don't know if there's no right and wrong in this. It's just my way. I figured that's my way, because many times when I try to sit and make music, I find it very artificial. Like, it might serve a purpose. People might say, oh, it's very catchy or whatever it is, but it doesn't satisfy my soul.
That's interesting what you're saying, and it reminds me of, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not sure if the story I'm about to share is actually true, but I do remember hearing it, but you'd know better than I do. I remember hearing Raman sir or somebody talking about Raman sir, um, talking about how, a lot of his, source of his compositions come from meditation. And that sort of, aligns with what you're saying, where you're just like, sometimes you just need to close your eyes and just sort of connect with something deeper and then let things naturally manifest.
Mhm.
Is spirituality, meditation, things like that a source of creativity for you, or are they two independent things, do you think?
I mean, everything is, see, for me, it's just zero and or one. For example, either everything is spiritual to you or everything is not. That's my point of view. So if I'm talking to you, for me, this is a very spiritual moment, to be very honest. So even if I'm fighting with anyone on the road, I do see it as something that's very much deeper in me, and not just a random fight I pick with someone. So, so there are no zero, like, there's no in between. It's like I'm either all in or not. So, that is what I'm trying to, I mean, that's what I truly feel right now. And I've been trying to learn that. So maybe, I might have behaved in not such a way at sometimes, but I truly feel this is what it is at the end of the day. Because it's not, spirituality is not something like, or from my experience, it's very limited, but it's not something like, okay, I'm going to access my, the inner self, and then I get out of it, then I go again and access it and come back. So of course, when your mind is calm, so basically when you meditate, the thing is, your mind gets calm and you see beyond the mind, beyond the silliness of the mind. So that's what basically meditation does, which means your inner self needs to get better. Otherwise, there's no point doing anything. So once that thing gets sorted, your mind will also start functioning better, where it will allow your true things to, manifest, and not just the chatter of the mind. So, like, sometimes I think I wrote it down somewhere. Like, many times, even, the dreams we see, sometimes the dreams aren't ours. Like, for example, suddenly I feel like,
Explain. Yeah.
yeah, you want to own a bungalow or something, or a big house or a big car. Most of the times the dream is when you see someone else doing it. Like, and so until we see them doing that, we wouldn't have even thought of it. So, and imagine someone bought a new car and you see another person appreciating that person buying a new car. So you attach this buying a new car as something that people see as good, right? And you see someone else buys a, just a bicycle, and someone says, oh, oh, you just bought a bicycle. You find that as negative. So finally, your mind says, if I buy a car, I'll get more appreciation from the world. And it's a vicious cycle. So things can go as complex as this, where many times the dream we build aren't truly us. So I felt that many things that I tried doing, I realized later that's not me. I don't want to do that. After doing it for 2 or 3 years and struggling with that, then I realized that's not what I want. It's someone else's dream. I don't know why I'm carrying it. So there are a lot of these things when you just sit and, when you deduct your mind and see what is truly you, what is not you, what are the shields you're wearing, the masks you're wearing. Then I figured, it's a daily practice where wherever I do, whatever I do, I want to make sure it resonates with me. And in that resonance, I'll do something that's actually of worth, and that's something that's helpful to the world, or something, that add-ons value to the world. So that's what spirituality is to me.
It's interesting the example that you brought up, with the car and the bicycle. I think, you know, what you said about that story is absolutely true, where, you're sort of taking someone else's dream and attaching it to yourself. something else I sort of noticed from that example is I think what you want in that situation is not the car, but it's that validation that comes from the car,
Very true. Very
right?
true.
So ultimately it's sort of that dream is just a step to that final destination, which is that validation from others.
Absolutely.
So that leads me, you were saying there were phases of your life where you spent a couple of months or a couple of years doing things that weren't meant for you. Do you think that ever came from a place because you felt you weren't appreciated for being your true self, or that something, about your core identity was not lining up with the people around you?
Definitely. I mean, it's the thing is, such things are many a times subconscious,
Hmm.
and you need to, get into yourself or do therapy or take sessions or work on your meditation and figure out what your mind is telling you or what is happening within yourself. And it needn't even be just for validation. It might come right from the childhood, from your parents, or for example, I told you about an incident about me being on stage for a fancy dress. Even as a 3-year-old, though that was unintentional by anyone around me, that could be the start of any trauma to me. You never know. It's not to blame anyone, but it's like that's what life is, because your mind is, accumulating all these information, and you don't know at what age, at what situation this is going to turn up. So it's a very fun game, basically, the human life. It's such a fun game. So you never know where it starts, where it ends, where we pick things up from, when your subconscious is opening up to you. So it's just a game of, finding what is this, what do I want to do with it, if it's me or not, or where is it coming from. So uh, any struggle is just like, if you feel difficult in any situation, it means there is something that it's triggering within you, right? Because it might not trigger another person, it is triggering me, which means I have an issue with it. And then I sit and try to identify where it is coming from, and I'll figure out the source. Once I figure that out, then it's easy for me to come out of it. So that is what I've been trying to do every day in my life, basically. So
It's really interesting, we're in this conversation about, digging into oneself, and I think this comes from you being a very introspective, slightly reserved, shy person, as you've talked about. And then on the other end of, your life, you are standing on regional television, singing in front of millions of people, which was, I think, the real sort of pedal which accelerated your career, at least professionally. How does that work, for somebody who describes himself as shy, introspective, reserved? How does that work for someone who goes on television singing in front of millions, not only in India, also around the world? Because, hey, I was watching from Tokyo.
yeah, so first thing, I didn't know Super Singer was watched by so many people when I joined the show. And I was in no mood to get into a reality show at that point. And I had no clue. Then it was a friend of mine, Aparna Harikumar. She's a singer, so she also applied for the show. Then I don't know. A friend of my sister. Her name is Lata Krishna. She's also a singer, very amazing singer. So she was in Super Singer in the previous season, and then she, they were scouting for new talents, and she remembered me, and she called me and said, send me your videos, let me send it to the team. So I just sent it to her. They liked it. They asked me to come for the next level of auditions, and I went for it. And even then, I was in two minds, because I just finished my course, and as I told you, I finished ethno, and I was like, I don't want film music. I was in that phase, and then this thing came up, so I just attended the auditions, and I thought, let's see where it goes and stuff. So, and then I realized I got selected, I think, to the last round, and I figured Raman sir was the brand ambassador for the show. And then I was like, okay, I'm in. So that was the only reason I went in for that, because I didn't know how big the show was. I've seen people, doing playback after this and stuff, but I didn't know how to equate them all together, to be honest. But for me, it was him that drew me in, and I don't know why. And at that point, I had, the general thing with me. My dad used to complain that I have no sense of competition with anything in my life. So it's like, you have to be competitive, otherwise, you won't feel like doing things. I was like, no, no competition. Everyone should be good. So I was like, I didn't have that much in me. So I just tried enjoying my level best. I had fun, and you get amazing musicians like Karthik Devraj on keys, Mani Anna on bass, and amazing musicians they were. So I was enjoying each and every session, and it was like that. So it wasn't easy, to be very honest. When I figured the show was very famous and people are watching me sing and watching me speak. Singing was okay because I learned how to handle, comments based on singing. But thing is, once you're on TV, your personality is out. And especially these days in reality shows, you'll have to speak, you have to talk a lot. And my such stupid jokes came on TV, and I lost it. I couldn't handle that. I didn't want people to see that side of me because it was very something very private and personal for me. So that affected me for many years after the show, to be honest. So it took me some while to learn how to process that and detach myself from that. But I figured it wasn't easy, to be very honest. So if not for the music and the things that I gained from that, I wouldn't be on TV on such an exposed level. It is very difficult for a person like me.
Yeah, and I mean, that must have been a crazy experience, not only, personally and in terms of learning how to engage with such a wide audience, but also musically, right? As you mentioned, there were so many esteemed instrumentalists. Of course, you had legends as judges, and so many of your peers from that batch are now some of the top singers in the industry as well. What were some of the sort of moments of learning or, real like key moments that you took away? Obviously, the Ramancer episodes are an obvious example, but including that, what were some of the moments where you felt you really had something to take away from the whole experience?
First and foremost, I would say when I listened to all the other singers in the same season, like some of them really blew me away. I was like, wow, that's so much talent and so much hard work. And when people share their stories of trying for this for years together and how they want to sing, and I see someone who's wanting to achieve something in music, I was like, wow, where is the drive coming from? Because I didn't have so much of a drive in me, honestly. So it was like, where is that coming from? So and I was very curious regarding to the musical part of things. I was like, I used to feel jealous of everyone in a very good way, I'm saying. And I always felt I didn't sing well. So I was like, wow, how are they singing? How is it possible? And I was like always spellbound by everyone. And I learned a lot about that. But also the judges, because many of them are like very good, like very good friends right now, to be honest. And such amazing musicians and such good minds to share things with youngsters and things. So I don't know, when you see a lot of these talented people around, you start getting inspired in different ways, and which I don't know how to explain, but it's an experience. It's like you go for a crash course and you have the best people around you. So in those 6 months, learning around 30, 40 songs and getting to practice them day in and day out, you're singing every single day and you're practicing that one particular song for hours together. So you just tone up your entire, musical expression at that point. And and I have some amazing friends as well from that right now till date. So altogether, it's that like you have some amazing people around you and you're all stuck together for 6 months. That's all you need, like to to help you build something. It could be stressful, but I would say it's a blessing. Like, how will you get this? Like, I don't have to pay for it. It's a free, and I'm getting all the benefits. So what else can I ask for?
When you say it was stressful, obviously there was, lots that you took away in terms of benefits and enjoyment. When you talk about the stress of it, was it mainly the personality bit that you were talking about before, or did it sort of affect your relationship with music in any way, in terms of the pressure of needing to sing in a competition or sing in front of such a wide audience?
Yeah, so when you get into competition, the first thing is everyone's commenting on your singing and on your music, right? Like how you sing, what you sing, everything. And it is being done publicly. So whatever is told to you is being heard by all the other people. And the funny part is you also listen to all the comments that are said to others. So your mind will bring all these games like, oh yeah, this person was said this comment and this judge said this comment, and you'll start, equating them. So am I better? Am I bad? So I'm no good. I shouldn't be here. Your mind can play all those games. And at the same time, it takes time to, take in criticism, a public criticism in the right sense. So that is a process. Like, I'm someone who has tried to learn to balance this at a certain point of time. But imagine this thing happening day in and day out. So it is an overload. It's a sensory overload for you. So it takes time to, sort things that you need to take, sort things you don't need to take. And also, criticism is one thing, and to learn to know how to work on that is a different thing. So sometimes you just get lost and you don't know what to do, whether I'm doing something right or wrong. And there'll be lots of rights and wrongs in your head by then, because 10 people will have different opinions. So, and thing is, all those 10 people would be people we respect a lot. So it gets on us that, we have to choose what is that we want. And it took me 6 months to figure that out, because everyone keeps telling their thing and it's all right, but then I need to know what is right for me, and that takes a long time. So it's like you're bombarded with different versions of yourself, and now you have to pick and choose what is me and stick to it and be sure-footed that this is what I am. It's okay, I take in all the opinion, but this is what I am. So this is what takes time.
How much did your life change in terms of obviously you became a public figure, after the show. It's funny when you Google your name, I don't know if you've ever tried this yourself. When you Google Sreekanth Hariharan, the description that comes up is public figure, not musician or singer.
Welcome to the influencer era.
Fun fact. But anyways, the point I was trying to get to is, suddenly you're met with, as you said, all this attention, all this commenting, and all this attention in general, right, towards you. How much did it affect your daily life in any way? Firstly, I guess on a surface level in terms of, maybe like just being stopped on the street or things like that, and also on the level of just realizing that millions of people are saying something about you at every second.
See, I'm not such a big guy right now, so for millions of people to comment on me,
I mean, millions of people do watch the show, for sure.
yes, maybe, but they won't be thinking of me day in and day out, like,
Fair enough.
yeah. So, see, I'm one small guy who was on TV, who got the fame and everything at that point, and
Right.
yeah, people do recognize me on the street many times, and initially that was very surprising for me, like, how should I react? It was a little difficult, but difficult in the sense that I don't know how to react to it. Like, if I then I realize I can't keep engaging every time. Then I realize I want to engage because they're very genuinely coming for the sake of music. It's beautiful. It's not me. It's music. So it's interesting. So I was figuring out how to do that, and I learned my ways of, I should be, accepting all the love, and at the same time I should know, where to keep the priorities at times and everything. So it's a big lesson. It's a life lesson to learn, and it did take some time, but what to say, some things, yeah, I do feel like sometimes I have thought about it, like if no one knew me, how would I live? It would be interesting. Like, say, in Chennai, there are things I wouldn't do because it will be noticeable. So then I was like, I mean, see, the thing is, me being in this level, I'm talking about so much stuff. I can't even imagine what film stars might be going through, because they never have a private life and they can't do anything, just out of it, because everything is gonna be judged. So me commenting on it is very funny. I'm no one to comment on it, but on that micro level, yeah, there are things that happen to you. So I have huge respect for all those insanely famous people on how they handle their life. It's amazing. It's very inspiring, but hasn't been the best cup of tea for me for that, in that sense. But I've learned to enjoy people coming and talking to me, or even saying you sang good or bad or whatever it is, because it's interesting for me to see how different people view me. So I've just changed that, from being attacked or being constantly observed upon, from that to, like, oh, there are so many versions of me. I think I might be a bad guy, they think I'm a good guy, or I might be a good guy and they think I'm a bad guy. It's fun, man. It's a game. It's interesting. But the best thing about is the power of any art form, because it's not you or me or a particular person that, that matters here. The main thing that matters here is that music or any art form that is done with a lot of love, or that energy, is helps everyone connect so much. So I think that's the crux of it. So it's all pure respect to music, and I feel grateful that I'm being a path. I'm being one, one of it, to make this flow happen. And when you go through these things, there's more opportunity to learn about yourself. Like, every hardship that you face is one new opportunity to learn about oneself, right? That's what I feel. So when you get disturbed by everything, that means there's a lot to learn. So I am very thankful to this, that, I'm able to learn, and I wish I learned further. So I love this.
That's interesting. You were talking about, facing hardship, and you were talking earlier about dealing with criticism. There's the other end of that, which maybe isn't talked about as much. And it's a weird question to phrase, but it's how you deal with praise. You know,
Hmm.
I live in Japan. I was born here. I've lived here my whole life, so I'm mainly sort of steeped in Japanese culture. Here, the norm, if you're praised, is to sort of deny it. So if someone says, "Oh, good job," you'll be like, "Oh, no, 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 no." Right? That's the sort of respectful reaction or expected reaction. And maybe I'm judging a little bit, but I see a little bit of that in you where you say you self-criticize a lot and you're one of your own sorry, you're one of your own biggest critics. That's what I tried to say. But was there ever a struggle in just accepting people saying, "Hey, you're really damn good"? Like, was that ever a process that you had to go through to just
Absolutely.
accept that sometimes?
It was very difficult. It was very difficult because one thing, my mom is also such a person. She's like, oh, no, no, no. If someone says you sang amazingly, oh, no, no, no. I have seen her do that, and it's not just learning that by habit, because I've tried figuring out whether she was the reason I'm behaving that way. But then I figured that was not the reason. The reason being that I am so aware that I didn't do something so great. Like when I'm aware that I didn't do that to the way my brain works. So for example, I haven't tried working on this. The thing is, my mind would know how I should sound, but when I sing, I don't sound that way. So I am not 100% happy. So how can I fake it when someone says you're an amazing job? How can I say, oh yeah, thanks. I'm amazed by it too. So I couldn't say that. But and not just that, like people are generally kind. That's another thing. People are very, very sweet and they appreciate all the good things in you. But the thing is, the more if I keep saying yes, one thing that I'm saying a lie to myself because I know I didn't do that great in my head. But initially that made me feel very low because I realized I am not good enough. I'm not good enough. That's a thing I kept telling myself unknowingly when you reject praises. But after a point, I learned how to not be that. Like I know where I am. So whenever someone appreciates me, I thankfully receive it because they are seeing that good side in me and appreciating that. And I should be kind enough to accept that with all love because otherwise it's like I'm rejecting their energy. I don't want to do that. So I appreciate all the energy that I receive. At the same time, I'm also aware where I didn't do well. And that is my private business. I don't need to merge my private business with other people. So that is for my self-improvement. But not everyone is being touched by other humans because they did something perfectly. Then I figured the intent is what matters beyond all that. Like if I'm sharing something, imagine you come home, I give you, I cook food for you, and I share it with a lot of love. Even it didn't taste good, you would enjoy it, even though, maybe technically the food is not great, but you will still enjoy it from your heart, right? And you would appreciate me for that. At that point, you won't come and say the salt is less or it wasn't crisp enough or something. So in the same way, if I'm sitting with a lot of love and the right intent, people will get that first and not whether I sang two brigas correctly or missed one note. That is for me to judge later and improve on myself. So I learned I shouldn't equate both of them together and rather be respectful and kind enough to get taken the appreciation with a lot of humility, because I also learned the appreciation is not for me but for music. I have to detach myself from the music. Music is something, a language I learned, and maybe I'm good at it, but it has nothing to do me. I don't want that to feed my ego. That is something I'm trying to be aware of. I don't know how well I am, but that detachment is very important, and hence I take in all the appreciation, and I'm very happy about it.
When you say, you were mentioning, a listener doesn't really care if you missed one or two brigas or if some sangadi was slightly off or whatever. Is there any moment where you're able to engage with your own music, whether that be your singing or your compositions, purely on an emotional level, where you listen to something you've done, whether it's again singing or composing, and you're emotionally moved by something that you created? Are you able to access that emotion in your own creations the same way a listener would?
I think, yes, it's very funny. I don't know if I'll be this weirdest musician who enjoys their own music. I
I
don't know.
think we're all like that secretly.
You do? Okay. It's just that people are not public about it because I keep hearing people say, I don't listen to my music. Ah, no, I don't get back to it. But the thing is, So recently something happened. I bought a new car and the audio system is very bad. But still I played
Oh
my
no.
but I played I did this indie song called Nilai and last year, and I played my own song after listening to a lot of other songs. I listened to a lot of other songs and I was, observing them, observing the mix, how it sounded, the
Right, right.
speed and all that. When it came to my song, it was 4 minute 16, no, 50 seconds or something like that.
Yeah.
I finished the whole thing and I just felt my heart in it, because then I was very happy because I realized I didn't do that song for someone else. I did that song for myself. And I felt a lot of love in that song. I felt my emotions resonate in that song. So I felt really happy. So, I mean, that's something I really wanted to do. It's not because maybe I enjoyed my voice. That's not the point there. I didn't approach it that way, but I felt my soul in that song. And that's all I tried while making my, as I told you before, if I am giving my soul in it and if it's coming from within, I'll resonate to it. So that happened. So I enjoyed that song and I felt happy. Like internally, I know I felt happy, though externally I will be like, no, 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 don't do that. Your mind will just I'll do all that. But internally, I felt happy. So yeah, that happens. I do enjoy my music at times. I won't say all the times. But if I start analyzing my singing critically, then that'll go into a PhD. That is, I'll have trouble every single word I utter. But I also have that side of me which appreciates the good things in me. I mean, that was a it took a lot of time for me to learn that, but I felt that is very much needed, and only then I can improve. So,
You mentioned the composition, you mentioned Nile. Let's talk a little bit about your compositional journey. You mentioned from an early age you were
not such a
doing.
big journey though. It's just a
No,
very
I
short.
mean it's been a journey because you mentioned, Music Mojo a couple of years ago, and then you were doing a couple of indie stuff over the past few years. Obviously you won the international songwriting competition, even though the actual song you won it for is it in your hard drive? Can you please get it out? Are you sure it's not in like some disc stuck under your carpet or something?
It's very much. I'll release it soon.
Okay,
Thanks, bro.
thank you. Here, this is pressure, okay? Whatever pressure you talked about before, this is real pressure. I'm putting it on you right now. I'm just joking. But you have been on a compositional journey, sort of engaging with creating music. What has that been like, especially in the context of when you're talking about the relationship that you have with commercial versus non-commercial versus music to your soul and all these different ways of interpreting music? How did all that fit into your compositional journey?
Very interesting. So I remember the first thing I composed was a prayer song for some organization when I was in college, and no one sang it. And I mean, the whole plan for that got scrapped. But I remember that song. It was a very, very. I love that song. It's very soulful to me. So that is there. It was the first attempt at composing, and later for the Music Mojo, so I had this friend called Vivian, who is a guitarist, and he also plays the drums. And so we used to simply sit and jam at times. I don't know how it happened. I forgot how it started, but and then he used to play a lot of songs, and I used to play a lot of songs. We just used to keep listening whenever we got time. And he played a lot of flamenco stuff at that point, and I started listening to a lot of flamenco for months together, and I was totally moved. And then he just, we just figured we'll just make some songs like this. And then this Music Mojo thing, he got this thing, and then he might play a riff and I might start building a song around it, and that's how the whole thing started. So from not knowing what music composition is, now I figured a way that, oh, I can make music by listening to a chord. That's what my mind said. Then I was like, okay, we made around 7 or 8 originals at that point, and I wrote lyrics for it, for all of them. And interestingly, though I was brought up mostly in Kerala at that point, I wrote everything in Tamil, and it was very interesting. So there was a lot of variety in that, and at the same time, most of it spoke about my spiritual journey, my inner journey. So that was what I always wanted to talk about, and that is one thing I realized. And then Super Singer, blah blah, all that happened. Then I was still making music at home at times, and the song that I wrote, Idu Kanava, which won the competition. I mean, I don't know why I applied. I don't know how I won. Whatever it is, I have no clue how that thing happened because it's been 3 years. I just know I want an Odyssey headphones and I'm enjoying them right now. So, but that song was also about myself, and I didn't know how to produce music back then. So I got I did the basic arrangements, and then my friend helped me, shape the tones, and the things were the same, but I wrote the string score and everything, but then he helped me shape it up. And I learned a lot through that process. But that was a very amateur from my side. If I think of it right now, I was still a very big amateur in terms of producing music, which I still am, but I was way more amateur. But winning that prize made a lot of difference because it gave me some confidence in me as to, okay, I can make songs that are convincing to others. And there was one song from Music Mojo called Kannamma, which is my pick from that also, because
I
there was a
agree.
lot. So there was a lot of me in it, and then I figured a lot of people love that song. When it might not be about numbers, but a lot of musicians I met, a lot of people I made them listen to the song. They really enjoyed the song and had nice things to say about it. I was like, wow. So something that I do is also right. Not everything is wrong. So then this Idhu Kanava happened, and I really like that song because it spoke about my life at that point of time, and it was very true to myself. And so then I started making songs whenever I got time, whenever I felt like. And I realized what touches me is what brings out the music. So hence I can't simply, write about love or write about that. Nothing happens. So I need to sit, it needs to come, and I make music. And what was the core of your question? I sorry, I missed that.
I have to be honest, I don't remember either.
Okay,
Go
but
on.
you're talking about, I think, about my, indie thing and how it shaped up and
Yeah,
stuff.
something along those lines.
Along those. So yeah, I think making my own music was more about exploring myself and understanding how can I can express my music and what happens in that process and stuff. So yeah, maybe that's also why I didn't share or release a lot of them, because I didn't know if it was good. I was afraid of being judged. I was afraid of being, say people till now might have said, "Oh, you sing well." If I release my song and if it's sounding stupid, they'll be like, "Ah," they might just throw it away. So I was very afraid of criticism at one point or things, maybe, I guess. And I wasn't confident enough at all. So, and at the point after the kind of the thing was, I wanted, certain things to be done for the video for a song, or the creative visualization was such, but I didn't find the means to make it happen, or I didn't have the drive to make. I mean, I don't know what it is. Could be either of them. So, or things didn't match. I was too adamant on how I wanted to be visualized, and that never worked for me. So maybe that's why I didn't release many of the songs that I did, because it wasn't something that I couldn't relate to most of the videos of music that comes out, like dancing or situations or locations and stuff. There were a lot of things going in my head which I couldn't find anywhere, and hence I haven't made them as videos yet and released. So I should find out a way to solve that. But
About
that's
time. Come on. I'm just joking.
no, I'm getting old. Yeah.
It's really interesting because, you talk about the role of sort of, I don't know if I can call it spirituality, but there's this very sort of philosophical element in the way you approach music. And now when I'm listening to some of your more recent songs, whether it's Nile, not so much Kanne Kanave, but Nile and Kangal Kante, I'm mainly thinking of. There's this real dance element to both of them, right? There's this strong sort of electronic production. I remember I messaged you after Nile came out and like, would you play this at a club or a
Yeah,
yoga
yeah, I remember
class?
that.
And there's this really interesting contrast in your songs between this sort of, I don't want to call it commercial because I know it's not that, but what people would stereotypically associate as commercial, and this sort of more meditative, I don't know what to call it, but this more raw sort of musical expression of yourself. How do these sort of combine in such a clean way in your music? Like, is that a conscious thing or is that something that just happens? How does all that come about?
I have no clue, but thing is, at one point, say 3 or 4 years ago, it's when I started listening to electronic music. To be very honest, I wasn't in that scene at all, and I used to listen to a few artists, and I was amazed by the kind of music they produce. And I'm not a big fan of very I don't know, weird soundscapes, or I love cleaner music. I don't know. I'm not saying about chords, but the sounding wise, I can't take a lot of dark music. I don't know how to call music dark, but there is music that I feel is dark. I can't go into that. And electronic music has a lot of shades. The palette is way bigger than any other music that I've heard. So it was very difficult to find the electronic music that I loved. But that particular phase of electronic music, or that part of it, was so beautiful. It was very meditative to me. Like, it was made with a lot of, it felt very pure. It felt like, the whitest of flowers I could see, or the pinkest of lotuses I've seen. That is the imagery that I get. It was so beautiful. It was serene, and it was very minimal. They knew what to use when and where, and it just touched you. So I love that aspect of electronic music, and I kept listening to a lot and everything. Then I don't know. So I don't know if what I listen to, how it translates to me making music, but somehow it happens. I don't try to think of something and make something. That never happens to me, but it just happens. Maybe I was in that phase of listening to electronic music, so and I felt what to say, touched by a lot of things from that, and it converted into whatever I made. So for Kangal Kanden, there was a small brief that it needs to be something people might tap to, because it was for Instagram, and hence they wanted something, but they were not very forceful of that on me. But when I made something, it ended up, and I could only visualize it in this particular arrangement, and I didn't try to make it commercial or dance friendly, but it just happened. So I think whatever you listen to influences a lot on what you make. Or maybe now, not now, maybe in 10 years it might. So, and I love classical based compositions, but I don't I don't know, I don't think of a style when I make music also. Like, it needs to be Carnatic, or I need to blend Western and Carnatic, or jazz and Carnatic. I get no intentions when I make music. So I don't know, or maybe I'm not good at those styles to, consciously put them together, but it never works that way. So uh, maybe it's whatever I've listened to accumulated just shows itself out when I make music. So in those two, but I love the concept because EDM gives you a streamlined focal path, right? Or any kind of rhythm, but EDM more so because it leads you, it's very continuous. At the same time, it gives you like a foundation for you to build upon. It was very easy to think of it that way, because you're not changing that aspect of it. So you keep that kind of constant and build around it and shape around it, and you can create your canvas in any way you want, and it is so beautiful. It's very flexible in that sense. So that is, maybe when I think of it, that's something that I gained, or my insight from EDM was that.
Yeah, that's really interesting, sort of, I guess you sort of treat EDM as a sort of bed to build on, where, when you sort of talk about it as a focal point. I don't know, I'm using weird metaphors, but
That's true. I mean,
yeah.
maybe that's what I used in both those songs.
Mm,
Uh, but in Nilai, I think it was core electronic in that sense, because just that the melody was more simpler. It was more, I just wanted the words to, because see, when you talk about state of mind, I experience a very, what to say, disconnected or very eternally blissfully kind of an experience when I listen to certain electronic music, because they're so beautiful, and especially instrumental. Sometimes I don't like vocals, and I also like the fact that in some of the idiom, the vocal is so far behind that you just know there is voice, but it's like, some gods talking to you. It's like, there's voice, but it's mostly the music and the tones that uplift you. So I wanted that experience for Nilay. That's it. So I wanted like vocals to be there, but not the center, like advising you do this, do that. I don't want that with the voice. I want it to be like a supportive, very, lovable mother who's there around you to embrace you, but just you be yourself, kind of a thing.
makes sense. And speaking of voices, something that's been a sort of thing for you over the past few years is coming up with your own a cappella covers. And it's been really fun to see because a cappella, again, I'm sort of going to connect it to Japan. A cappella is huge here. So we
Mhm.
have a super singer equivalent here in Japan, but it's actually only for a cappella groups. It's a 1 day show, so not quite, stretched out for like 6 or 12 months or whatever. All the auditions happens off screen, but there's like a 1 day show on TV. The whole nation watches it. It's a big deal. And it's for a cappella. And it's a really big deal here in Japan. And I haven't seen that translated so much in Tamil, at least based on what I've seen. Of course, Raja sir and Rahman sir, they've sort of incorporated aspects of it because they're just crazy minds and they'll put anything and everything and somehow make it work. But in terms of, just an a cappella group coming out, there hasn't been that much. There was a little bit with, Kalininer has done so much with Harmonized Project and now Indian Choral Ensemble, but I really see, your work as one of few in terms of exploring the a cappella genre in the South Indian scene as far as you have. How did that interest come about and what has your journey been like engaging with a cappella?
I think it came from the fact that I didn't know how to play any instrument other than the
Very
violin.
valid reason.
So I remember I think in 2014 or 2015 is when I didn't know how to use Cubase, but I installed Cubase in my laptop, in my college laptop. And I don't know, like I just thought, let me try doing this for one fine evening after I came home from college. There was one mic and something I connected, and I just recorded few lines of A Sinamica, and I tried doing that and layered it, and then I just tried layering it and building it. And then I just did that, and I was really happy. Then I played the tiny section to my sister, and she was like, she's like, this is sounding really good. You should do it. And then I was like, okay, fine. So then I took another day and I arranged the entire song vocally. But at that time, I decoded everything from the original, and I wrote them down in pages, and then I did it everything. Like I did the entire original in that song. I wasn't being very creative at that time, but after doing that, I added my own layers and I added some extra harmonies here and there and things like that. So that fascinated me a lot. And I did that. I shot a video, I put it out. I don't know why I did that, but it was so much fun. There was so much fun in doing that. And later on, I think I didn't do much. Like for many years after I moved to Chennai, I never did much, if my memory serves me right. But then after a point, I don't know when, like something happened. So one of the thing was that I didn't have a MIDI keyboard when I moved to Chennai, and I didn't know how to program as such. So when I wanted to make something, I just thought, okay, let me just do two harmonies, or I did something, and it used to sound nice. Perhaps I don't know. I enjoyed them, so I just left it there and did that. And so I have this thing of harmonizing. I love harmonizing, which I realized later. And then I think I did one cover of Kantukonde and Kantukonde, which I was very intrigued by. I don't know why, but it just happened. So it's all like, I just felt it then and I just finished it. It was things like that. So I sat one late night and I was home alone. I didn't have anything to do. And I just put this and, took one part of the song and decoded that vocally and recorded them and put it out. So, and then it came because I was very afraid to attempt Rajasa's songs. And I didn't do any of this with the intention of I should do this cover, I should do that, I should do a cappella. There was nothing like that. So one fine day I listened to Alayose and I was so like, I remember I went for a concert in, I think, Myanmar. And I was singing this. So I think Maniana was playing bass. And I was listening to him play the bass lines of the song or somewhere, I don't remember where, but I was so intrigued by it. So I just noted in my phone, learn what he was saying. Like, I know the song, but I learn the song. So I came home and one fine day, I think I might have seen that note or something. Then I had some time late in the night. I listened to it. I was like, okay, let's decode it. So I wrote down the entire song, the layers of it, the strings, and Rajasa being Rajasa, you have incredible number of layers, and it's amazing. So one funny fact is I know nothing theoretically. Like as in I don't know what chords, what is a note in this chord, or where is it going from, what is the transition, what's the shift. I
Is
don't
this
know
you
any of.
being humble again
No,
or?
no, I don't know. I tell you honestly, tell me 10 chords, I won't know what they are. So, but the thing is, I know musically what happens, what sounds good, where it goes. Maybe I go by the experience of it. I don't
You
know
can
theory.
hear it, you can't define it,
I can't
I
define it
guess.
in
Yeah.
Western terms. I can't do
Right,
that.
right, right.
So I was feeling very insecure about this, but then I heard a interview of Jacob Collier, and he said, you should just experience music. There's no point in, trying to prove it technically. Then I was like, thanks, man. I needed that. then, then I got the confidence to
Ironic,
sing.
Jacob Collier says that. Anyways.
Ah, because otherwise, someone asked him, like, why do you write so weird chords, such weird chords and stuff? So he said, I experience it and feel it good. So why should I think of it and then do it? He's
Mhm.
feeling it. So then I figured that makes sense. And so then I just try writing this in swarams, in Indian swarams, and I translate it and then I sing it and record. So that's a whole journey. So for me, I started doing Raja Sir's songs at one point of time just for the curiosity to learn how he did those songs and how it sounds, and what are the foundational blocks for that song. Like, when is the foundation laid, when is the bricks laid, when are the windows kept, and all those things like that for me. So I was just trying to decipher how his brain worked while making a composition, and that's all it is about. So it was just trying to learn that song, and I thought, okay, I might as well just record them and spend 1 hour recording them and half an hour shooting them and putting out, because I did some effort. So it felt fun to share it. That's it. So yeah.
Is that something you want to sort of engage with, perhaps with other people? That's been a solo journey for you, right? A cappella mostly so far. Correct me if I'm
Yeah.
wrong, but
Yeah,
all
it's been
all
a
the things that I've seen, it's just you in multi screens. Have you ever wanted to sort of translate that with other people and maybe form a group of four, five, six people and try something? I remember there was something Rahman sir did with a lot of
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah. Uh,
nuffs.
Nerves,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. And that was such like that
Yeah.
was crazy when it came out. And I remember Mohini Day was playing the bass on those tracks as well. And then I think each person sort of went their own way and that fizzled out. Something
Hmm.
like that would be super cool. Come on, Shrikant, let's do it.
I hope.
No, just joking.
I don't think I'll do anything like that. I don't
Mm,
know. I mean, so these were things I was doing to learn for myself, and I'm still figuring out what I want to do in that sense, because music for me is just like, I'm learning myself through music, but I don't necessarily dream a lot on, to do that. I have to do this, I have to do this, I have to bring this out. I have not found that side of me yet. Like, so there are some things I really want to do, but like, it's not many, and this is not one of it for sure, because I might want to do this on the recording side of things, or, I would like to do arrangements, or maybe learn more of this and do arrangements for others and see how those perspective works for fun. But I still am not sure if I want to take it big, and being the primary thing, it won't be my primary thing. But if you listen to a lot of my songs that I make, there are a lot of vocal harmonies involved.
yeah.
So
Nile is an obvious example.
yeah, I love that. I love layering with vocals, and it's amazing. I love it. I don't know why, but I just love it.
That's the Jacob Collier in you, isn't it?
Oh, too much of a comparison, but
No, no, I'm just saying the way of thinking.
make it thinking
Not in
perhaps. Yeah.
terms of how many extensions you have on the chord, but
Hey, you can say one half of the J in his name. So but man, he's crazy, dude. I don't know. I get so jealous of people who are so talented. It's so amazing he is. So yeah, it's too good.
you mentioned your comment right now just sort of reminded me. You mentioned, I know it's an offhand comment, but you mentioned that sort of jealousy towards Jacob Collier. Again, I know it's sort of half joking. You've mentioned in a previous interviews how you sometimes look at child prodigies and are
Oh yeah,
so intrigued by them
yeah.
because your journey was almost the opposite. Because I don't know if late bloomer is the right phrase to use, but you weren't necessarily someone who was, like set for professional music from age 4 or 5. It was something that came much later. How do you
Mm.
think that sort of maybe the fact that you engaged with music more seriously later on, how do you think that's affected your journey as a musician?
Uh, I think I have learned to be disciplined, or do things in a certain way, or follow my passion out of my conscious will. Because the thing is, for many people who do things from childhood, they do things by habit, and many of the things aren't conscious. I don't know if I'm right or wrong, but from a psychological perspective, when I observe things, their practice was at times when they were mostly unaware or didn't take those decisions by themselves. They were forced to do things, and it turned out amazing. I still sometimes wish I was pushed a little more in my practice in my younger age. But the difference I feel is whenever I took whatever I needed, it was 100% my conscious will. So it taught me a lot about where my will should be and what should I focus on. So that was something, I don't know, there's no right or wrong, but it's different perspectives. So that's something I learned when I compare these two styles of upbringing. I had a lot of choice in whatever I did in whatever point of time. So it was all me. If I am singing, I can take responsibility. If I failed, I can take responsibility. If I did well, I can take responsibility. So if I don't want to do music, I can take responsibility. So that sense of doing what you like or doing what you wanted to do all by yourself with no other external impact on it, I really love that, because I think it's also teaching me a lot in that sense. Because um, even say my thing stint with yoga or anything has been from my own interest from some point, and so I like that part of it. Though I do, sometimes I do feel like maybe what if I was taught music much earlier, I would have learned a lot more. I might be more skillful. I might be more amazing in singing, or I could be way better. But I don't regret that, because at a point of time I felt it's not about all those. There's a lot more to life than just being good at something. So I came to terms with it.
Yeah, and you were talking about, taking responsibility for your own journey and, going from the past to the future. Obviously, you've done a lot in your journey so far. Is there some other path that you want to explore, or some path that maybe you haven't quite explored as much as you have so far? Is there basically, I'm asking what's, in store for the future, but what do you want to explore? What do you want to delve into?
Just as dreams I have, but I don't know. So I don't know. I can't say anything that is solidly there for me to tell you, but I'm making music. I'm making music. I'm trying to make more music, which I wish I share with people.
Ide Kanava, come on. Just joking.
Yeah, there's a lot up in the pipeline that I've already made and not done anything about. So that's something that is definitely there in the agenda. And I want, like, I love driving. So I love driving like anything. Like, that's my childhood passion. So I really want to drive all around the world, all over India, explore places. Uh, I don't know. That's a big dream, and learn about people. And I really want to jump into more of yoga and meditation and learn about myself and see what's that about. And I want to learn more of music. Definitely, that's already covered. But with I want these things to be combined. I don't want. I hope the environment turns in such a way that artists can freely offer what they want to do, what they like to do, in such a way that is uplifting for everyone around them. And music needs to be more of a, what to say, a space where you grow. It's a art is something that's not just for entertainment. So there's always this differentiation in my mind when it comes to art and entertainment. And art is something that you learn a lot from, or it inspires you a lot, whereas entertainment is just a very short term thing.
Mm,
So I think we are in an era where there's more entertainment than we need and less of art. So I want that to change,
mm,
because we all exist today because of the immense amount of art people had created back then. And right now, it's very difficult to find things that is going to inspire us 10 years down the line. So be it in anything about life, even the furniture we buy, or even it's all industrialized, or it's all streamlined, it's all made so that people will buy more rather than touching someone's life. So you might get touched by a furniture from the 1800s, but you won't get touched by an IKEA that you buy right now. So that's the same thing that's happening to music, to films. Maybe not much to films here. There are a lot of amazing stuff out there, but still, it's a big thing. Quantity works over quality, and things need to be done more to touch others, so that you connect to life and not just do your music, earn your money, or do your building and earn your money and go home and sleep. I don't want that to happen. So
mm,
I wish I act as something that could accelerate this part in this whole world. I know it's the big words. I don't know how to work this, but this is one of my biggest intentions I have in life, that
mm.
I should be of some use so that I got this music and maybe I got the sense of sensitivity towards things which I can help for it to evolve in a certain way. So I don't know how, but it's just it's there in my head.
That sort of leads me to a question, and you were talking about, music being art, right? Or at least, art and entertainment being two separate things, and how you're sort of trying to pursue the road of art a bit more and to explore that. One definition of art I really like, and again, this is just something I've heard, but so I don't even remember who said it, but somebody said, art is something that takes you somewhere which nothing else can. So it's sort of like a car which drives you somewhere which no other car can take you, right? So it's sort of like a vehicle to an unknown destination, which is sort of internal, right? And you can only access that through art. And basically, what I'm trying to say is, music has the ability to impact people so deeply. What has been a moment for you? Is there a moment that you can recall where somebody has come to you and you've realized the power your music has had on someone else's life? Is there something someone has said or a moment that you remember where you were like, "Oh my gosh, my music has really served the role of art in someone else's life?"
There have been a few that I can remember right away, but one would be like, like after like during Super Singer and things, when there are people who used to listen to the performance and then they used to message me about how they felt better after listening to the song, or they listened to my singing whenever, they were in a bad day, they had a bad day or things like that. And it did touch me a lot because it is so nice that, I like someone's voice, or imagine me, I'm just a random person somewhere on earth, like, trying to sing or do my thing. And many a times it's not even with that much of a generosity that we do. Like, for
Mm.
example, I might sing with the intention that I have to sing well, I have to do this right, I have to maybe, go to the next round or say, or I should get another opportunity. Maybe, I don't know how the brain works.
Right.
But in spite of having all these, messy thoughts in the head while singing, it is still touching someone, means it's the power of the art. So I think
Mhm.
that really touched me a lot when I do get such things. But and also for Nilai, when I did Nilai, there were a couple of I think 2, 3 people who messaged me in like huge paragraphs about how it was moving them, or how the lyrics was something that they really connected to, and how the idea was really deep and things like that. Very emotionally moving for me as well to read them. So that made a lot of difference to how I started trusting the process that is going through me. Thing is, imagine you having to be passionate about music, or you having to be in a situation where you started learning music. All these things happened, and one fine day, the creation that you made was helpful for someone.
Mhm.
Right? What are the odds of it
It's
when you think of it
one.
that? It's wild. It's really
Yeah.
wild. So a lot of things came together, and something that came out of that was so moving for someone else, which you didn't even intend or think of. You did it out of your own passion for the love of music and everything. And that's, I think that's the most amazing thing about life, or art in general, is, you know, it's somewhere, I don't know, it approaches different people in different ways, and you never know the power of it, the true power of it. It's too, but in the same way, this is also I feel what I feel. So the show's music is powerful, but it's also a double-edged sword. We
Explain.
can also, like, for example, whatever you do is of so much quality that, or it's of so much value that staying in people's mind for so long in such a deep manner.
Right.
So it is a very responsible medium.
Mm.
Any form of thing, like, I'm not saying a responsibility in terms of an ethical sense or things like that, but just imagine it being very powerful. It's like you're feeding food to someone. You want to give them things that is gonna improve them. You
Mm.
don't want to give things that makes them addictive, or give them something that's gonna, things, I don't know how to explain it in words, but you
Right.
understand
Right.
the direction I'm heading to. So when you realize the true power of what you're holding, there's a lot of a responsibility, sense of belonging, or caring, a care that comes along with whatever you give out of art. Like, so the intention is very important in music, is what I really feel.
Mm.
I don't know. You can. It's just my opinion. It's
No,
wrong
no,
to.
no. That really made me think. Because like you know how in food we talk about healthy food and unhealthy food, right?
You do.
Do you think such a parallel exists in music?
Absolutely, absolutely it does.
Oh,
I mean, I'm sure it does. Like, thing is, with music or movies or anything like that, it's very difficult to be aware of the impact it creates on us.
oh,
I mean, it's very difficult.
right.
And
There's
also
no
with
nutrition bar
yeah,
label at the end.
yeah.
Yeah.
And actually, the thing is with food, if you eat something that's really bad, you know the next morning when you sit somewhere, you know it's not worth
Ah.
it. Or you might suddenly start losing something, or you might gain weight or something. You'll figure out something. It's
Yeah.
physically manifested. But with music, it's more of an emotional manifestation, or it's also more of a, what to say, a very subtle manifestation. Like listening to, it's like, food has, you would have heard of the sattvic, rajasic, tamasic kind of foods and stuff. So it's something, it's very subtle aspects of food. In the same way, I also feel any art has very subtle effects on you, the way you feel. Like imagine listening to a very soulful music for 10 days and suddenly you listen to some loud banging music. It's very difficult to shift your
Mm,
mind to it
mm,
because
mm.
that means it affects you so much.
Right.
So in that sense, I don't know, there's nothing right or wrong, but
Right.
whatever thing you do, whatever is your taste of music, or doing that with the right intention makes a big difference. That's all. That's what I am trying to figure out. I'm figuring that out myself, but still, yeah.
I think we're all trying to figure that out in all aspects of life. Just one more thing I want to touch on, and where this goes completely away from the very sort of um I don't know if deep is the right word, but you know, very sort of bird's eye views, conversations about music. But you are partly on this podcast because I had the honor of working with you on the album. Um, and you know that this sort of mini series is featuring interviews of a lot of the people that were in the album. Is there anything you remember? It was a long time ago now. It's what, 8, 9 months ago by now? Maybe not. 6, 7, something like that. It was
Huh.
August. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, quite a while back. But is there anything you remember about the session or the song? Anything you want to share? Something that I can use as entertainment to get the views? No, I'm just joking. But
No, everything, man. I thing is, I really loved working with you, and more the sense that for me, like, I'm very sensitive to how the person is when on the other side. So one thing I really loved is you were very specific on what you want. You were very clear on what you want, and you're very passionate about the whole thing. So there's nothing more an artist wants to collaborate with. So that's really great. And it was very, as I said, I wasn't joking when I said you were very inspiring, because it was very nice to see the seriousness with which we approach the whole aspect, like the thing of creating the album or making music or recording an artist. And it was amazing. I really enjoyed the journey of this and the earlier one, Van. So uh, I really distinctly remember that I had a great experience, and it felt really nice meeting you and working with the song. And even the song, like, it's very interesting because I love the journey of both the songs, like how it starts, how it goes, how it grows, what happens with the song as a composition, how it ends. It's very interesting. And listen to the other songs of the album. I told you, I listened to bits of it, and I like the variety in it, like how different you have approached, different compositions. It's really amazing. I'm really, really, really glad to be working with this on you.
What else could I ask for? Oh my gosh. No, but really, it has been a huge honor for me to work with you and, all the other artists on this album. And, I was just having this moment as I was, sort of thinking about, this upcoming interview with you and just thinking about, 3 or 4 years ago, if you sat me down and told, 18-year-old Nishad that, he would have the opportunity to work with all these people. I still probably, when I first started my podcast, I made a list of people I want to talk to, and you were on there. Um, and that list I abandoned a long time ago. But if I go back to that Nishad who wrote up that list and say no, you won't just have interviewed him, you would have done like two songs. At that time, I wasn't even composing music, so it's just been a crazy journey. And I'm really, really, really grateful. You were actually the first artist I've ever recorded.
Really?
For yes.
Ah.
Because Van Mugil, okay, excluding, I did an instrumental song once
Okay.
before that, but excluding that, you were the first artist I've ever recorded.
Hope I didn't, I mean, give you a bad start with
No,
that.
no, no, actually the opposite. What happened was, I don't know how much you remember about the Van Mugil session. It was a remote session, and I
Yeah.
didn't really know how to talk to artists or how to explain things in a way which, because as you said, sometimes I'm very specific about what I want, but you have to sort of express that in a certain way, right? You shouldn't limit the creativity of the artist. You shouldn't be forceful. I mean, you can be, I guess, in certain scenarios, but I think at least the way I'd like to be is I want the other artist to be able to express what feels natural to them. And I remember the engineer that did the session with you, he sort of called me um after the session and he was like, that was great. Glad it went smoothly. But he was like, a word of advice, just be more open. And I was like, ooh, that's not something I thought of. Because I remember there was this very specific moment where I was like, I think you were singing something, and that was sort of what was coming, natural to you. And I think ultimately what you were singing made more sense. But I was sort of like, wait, no, in the demo I sang that, I sang that.
Oh, okay, okay.
So, so the fact that you were so tolerant of a complete beginner who had no idea what he was doing, and that's a bit of an extreme example, but throughout all the recordings, I'm always sort of going in as a first, not necessarily a first timer all the time, but as somebody who really doesn't know what he's doing, but just sort of receiving so much just joy and love from all the you know inputs that each artist has given. And it's just I just feel really honored to have been able to lead this journey and to have you involved. So yeah, I've sorry, just gone on a long monologue, but just want to say really thank you so much for being part of this. It really means the world.
That's a pleasure, really. It is. And I mean, it's also an amazing thing to, recording artists is a big skill. And to get what you want out of them is very, very, it's a very interesting thing. And if you crack it, there's nothing like it because that's not easy. Because the one problem with recording other artists, especially vocalists, would be that uh, it's more of an emotional thing. It's less about work. It's about how you handle them emotionally.
Mm, 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 mm.
That's what I feel. Like,
Yeah.
if someone's in a good emotional space, it's very easy to get the perfect thing out of them. The moment they lose that, the emotional state they are in, then it's very difficult to get anything out of them. So especially if they are very sensitive people, and almost all artists, I mean, you would definitely everyone is sensitive to the core. So it's amazing. So hence, like, what to say, yeah, it's I remember earlier when I was younger, maybe I used to get, I don't know, why is someone saying this way, or why they saying they want this. But then I figured that the perspectives of different are different, right? So you are saying what you need for a particular reason that you know better than me because it's your song. So I think you might feel that you should be more open to the singer. I might. It's everything works. At the end of the day, it's all about how all these perspectives come together, and finally everyone gets what they want. So it's fun, man. It's really nice.
It is fun. And when you're talking about, when I asked the question of do you ever get emotionally moved by your own music? I was sort of answering that question myself. I was like, what would I say? And I sort of felt the answer I really felt for that question of moments where I'm moved by my own music is when I hear other people's input in it.
Hmm.
So when I get a vocal take or when I get a guitar solo or even like a mix draft, right? Because you just hear the whole song open up and finally, the sound that you had in your head is coming into reality. Those are the moments where, at least for me, I really feel like I'm able to enjoy, even if it's something I made. Um,
Amazing.
that's just my answer of it. But it was interesting to hear your approach to that as well, even as number one self-critic, Sreekanth Hariharan.
But I am happy I learned that lesson, man, to enjoy our own creation. That is not easy. I felt, I mean, it was, I used to feel guilty if I felt something good about my own singing. From that to come to enjoy the thing is like, I was really happy that I could enjoy. So, yeah. But there's a nice perspective because I relate because when I record as an artist and see that coming out so beautifully, oh, it's such an amazing feeling. Very true.
Especially when they like improvise something and come up with something that you didn't
Ah,
originally think of and it just clicks. I had a moment like that during our session. The
okay.
ending alap. Do you remember in the ending line? So
Yeah, yeah.
Chinmay has the melody and you sort of sing
Correct.
an alap underneath it. And we did a
Correct.
couple of takes and then I think it was maybe the third one maybe. You sang it and then both Vishwa who was engineering the session and we just looked at each other. We're just like, yep, that's the one. That's the one.
Go fun.
That was such a great moment.
Yeah, amazing. When the whole energy matches, it's the best thing. True.
Yes. And speaking of moments where, oh gosh, sorry, I'm trying to come up with a good segue. Can't do it. I'll just go straight to the question. I'd like to end my podcast with the same question. I was about to come up with something where, like, speaking of moments where energies match, but no, that
No,
wasn't
it's
working.
working. Okay.
I end all my podcasts with the exact same question. I ask all artists a very simple question, and that is, what's on your playlist?
Interesting. Can I just check it because I don't remember what I added on my
No
playlist yet.
problem. This
Hmm.
happens with every guest.
Okay. So yesterday I added a couple of Ilayaraja sir songs because someone
Okay,
suggested it to me,
right?
and it is called Wawa Anbe. It's a very old
Yes,
song.
of course.
But right now, these are the songs I want to listen this week or
Okay.
any ahead. It's a song called Movie by Tom Mish.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
So not just that song, the album, because I listened to one of the songs and I really loved it. So
Huh,
I am yet to listen to the entire album
right.
and to all his old songs. And there's another artist called, Baburaj who composed a lot of amazing melodies in
Wait,
Malayalam.
my name, yeah, yeah, yeah.
So there are a couple of songs of his that I added to listen. It's called Harsha Bashpam and a few other old songs. And what else? I don't know. Oh, there's another song of Thomas that I added. Then there is a Ninne Nammi Nanu, a composition in Todi
Oh,
by
okay.
Quality Sir. So which I was listening the last couple of days. Uh, yeah. Then there's a what is there's a lot of I don't know very weird things that I've added here and there.
No, we want to hear the weird things. That's what this question is for. Come on.
So Believe in Love by Scorpions is one song
Okay.
that
Uh,
I added. Then Symptoms of Life from the like it's another song.
Willow.
Yeah.
Such a good song. I love it. I was just learning that on the drums a couple of weeks ago.
Oh,
It's
really?
such
Okay.
a fun song to play because there's the time signature changes where it goes from 4 to 7.
It was so
Oh my
amazing.
gosh. Yeah.
I added that. Then there's some, I think there's more of a guitar piece. So Lamentos do Morro. It is of an artist called Garoto. I don't know.
Okay.
So
Is
I don't know
that
where I got it from.
Spanish?
Yeah, it's
Portuguese? Okay. Right, right.
I think it's Spanish. I might be wrong, but some of that. Then there's also Thumri by Bade Ghulam Ali Khan. And then Varijashree Venugopal's album. So that is
Right, 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 right.
Yeah, that is there. I mean, I've listened to many times, but it's still there. One of the songs is still there in that.
Which one?
This Ranjini. Ranjini is
Ah,
there.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Ranjini. And yeah, these are the things I currently have to listen to. Yeah.
When you say have to listen to,
Hmm.
oh, you mean you have to listen to, not have to listen to.
No, no, no. Have to listen to, because the thing is, these would be songs I explored once
Uh-huh.
and then I would save it for later so that I loop them out for the next week or the next month when I keep traveling or something, things like that. So, sometimes I don't like listening to music also, so it's very weird. So I think I
No,
don't know
it's
if
not
everyone.
weird at all. I get what you're saying. Yeah.
And the thing is, half the times I don't remember the songs I listen to. So, like I would have listened to a song 100 times, but you ask me after 1 year, I wouldn't remember anything of it. Like I have that very short memory, or I don't know. Even with movies, it happens. I have the essence of what I experienced throughout that piece of art, but I won't remember the composition as such or anything of that. So that is there. So there are a lot of songs which I listen to which I have no memory of, but I think it's there in my subconscious, perhaps. I have no clue. So I don't know. It's very funny. So I have to sit and listen consciously and learn a song if I want to learn a song. Otherwise, I won't learn a song. I will just listen and experience it in a different sense. So in that sense, these songs, I might have listened to them, but I don't even know them by name. For sure, I wouldn't know them. So this is something I've not been able to relate with anyone. So I'm figuring out what is wrong with my life.
No, but it is interesting. So you're sort of systematic in the way you listen to music.
I have to be, otherwise I can't remember what I listened to. Like I would have
Is it
listened to,
important?
I
No,
don't know.
I'm playing devil's advocate. Is it important to remember what you listen to?
I don't know, man. I wish it's not. I hope it's not. Please be that way because I want that validation. But the thing is, I feel so insecure when I talk to people and everyone lists out the names of all the songs they know and they've listened to. And I was like, then I suddenly feel, do I never listen to music? I don't know anything. I have no idea what I listen to because I would have listened to almost all the albums of Coldplay at least a couple of times and some of them continuously, or Jacob Collier, or take a couple of albums of Ella Fitzgerald, or like Chick Corea, or what. I would have listened to them and to the point that I would know some of the tunes by memory for that particular time.
Right.
But it doesn't stick to me. None of the music sticks to me unless I sit and listen and learn that song. So it's a very weird phenomena which I haven't cracked yet.
No, it is interesting. It's something I've heard, especially, when you're exposed to all the music in the world.
Mhm.
Maybe is there an element where maybe you lose focus a little bit? Like, let's say we go back 50 years and you were just a Carnatic musician that focused on Carnatic and you had tapes of, all the Carnatic greats and you were listening to only that. There is a sort of focus to that listening style compared to us where we put Spotify on shuffle and then suddenly there's YouTube going on in the background. And maybe there's something about the modern way of engaging with
Fun
music
fact
where
is, I don't listen to any of this music passively.
oh,
So
okay,
yeah,
interesting.
if I'm listening to music, I make sure I listen to it very consciously. So I can't listen to music. I don't, I mean, I do listen like that, but
Uh-huh.
usually listening to a music is something that I put an effort on. Like, say, I would keep 1 hour aside and I only listen to music or read about the artist
Interesting.
or read about the album or and the things like that. And only then I listen to music. So that's the even funny part because even after doing that, it doesn't stick to my memory. But I know the experience I had when I listened. So I
Hmm.
choose my artist and I have the memory of the experience I had while listening to the artist,
Right.
but not of the. So I think music somewhere my brain processes it as like more of an abstract form,
Mm-hmm.
perhaps, or an experience. Even with movies, I don't remember the storyline of 99% of the movies I've watched. I just remember what was the takeoff for me, or maybe I'm too
I
selfish.
see.
I don't know. So I don't know if I'm too selfish about it, but I just remember what I experienced, what I internally went through when I watched that movie,
Hmm.
and it had hit me bad or good, or
Right.
what I loved about the movie. But I don't remember a thing about the story or the names of the characters or any. I don't remember dialogues. I don't remember lyrics.
Hmm.
So very interesting. I'm trying to. I still haven't figured why is it so, but I'm very curious to know what it is.
Oh.
Yeah, because I haven't found anyone that I could relate to in this terms. Because my sister is someone who remembers every nook and corner of every song she listens to, like especially the lyrics. She knows the lyrics of most of the songs she has listened to. I still don't know the lyrics of the song, some things that I have sung myself. So I'm that bad. That's my opinion. So yeah, that's curious. Do let me know if you find an answer for this.
I don't think anyone has an answer. Go to someone
You
smart.
mean this is the weirdest thing I've ever heard? Thanks, man.
No, but yeah, just thank you so much again for your time. Hopefully, I trust that the listeners have stuck around. I don't like to edit the episodes too much, so I just keep it as much as possible. Or some small things I'll edit, but so if we've
I've
spoken
been
for 2 hours, then listeners will stick around for 2 hours, and if they're as focused as you, then hopefully they're not doing anything else and they're listening only to this podcast. No, just joking. But yeah, anybody who's listening, if you're by chance not following Sreekanth on social media, please do so. And by the time this podcast comes out, our song will be out, the album will be out. So go check that out on all streaming platforms and whatever else I'm supposed to say to promote the album.
It's amazing. I mean, it's really nice to talk, and you had amazing questions to ask that made like me introspect on what I'm speaking and what I'm thinking. So thanks for that. And I look forward to more of the music that you make and your journey as a composer and as a human being. I'm very curious to see that, and I really wish you all the best.
Thank you so much. Well, that was Sreekanth Hariharan on this episode of the Life Until 23 series of the Indoencers Podcast, and thank you to everyone that has tuned in. I'd really appreciate your support with my album, which you can find on all streaming platforms and on my YouTube channel with links in the description. Let us know what you thought of the songs, and if you liked it, please do share them around with your family and friends. Thank you so much for all the love and support, and I'll see you next time.